There will be lots of spoilers. You have been warned. If I remember and have the time to do so, there will be timestamps in the description below. So if what you're watching is boring, then go ahead and skip to whatever section you deem that you want to watch. Where do I even begin with this movie? Well, first off, the episode number. The review gets better, stick around. Might be confusing for some, but I guess, everyone knows by now what episode number it is, so... But still, it would have been cool to add it in, but oh well, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, let's start at, well, the start. So, the title crawl. The theme is a bit off. It sounds hollow in a way. Compare it to that of the prequel trilogy and you'll see what I mean. That version, the prequel crawl, remains the best in my opinion. It's the best quality sound, it's legit sounding. While this one, with all due respect to the mastermind that is John Williams, is more of a sad attempt, kind of like a parody, if you will. Sorry, John. All capital letters for the factions that are involved, which only happened up until this point with every even number movie. Like 2, 4, 6, and now 7? I mean, kind of breaking tradition a little, but it's forgivable since it does mention the Empire in the crawl, and you have to distinguish what's in the movie. So, the opening shot, despite it being the only one in the saga that has nothing to do with the last sentence of the title crawl, is pretty freaking epic to me. The big ship looming over the planet below and deploying troop transports, it's just awesome. It's ominous, it's visually astounding, and right off the bat, this tells you that the First Order does not mess around. They're like the Empire as far as the ideals go, the evil wanting to control everything and get their way, but the way they go about it all is like the Republic of old, where they aren't afraid to get down and dirty, so to speak, despite them looking new and shiny. They're willing to get things done no matter what the cost is, as we see what they did to that poor village. It makes them pretty terrifying. Speaking of which, the troops being deployed into battle and the fight that ensues, it's pretty to the sum. Let me just say that overall this movie is visually stunning. It sure does that right. You got practical effects everywhere as far as the on-foot scenes go, and beautiful CGI as far as everything else. Except for some scenes here and there, like the starfighters, when they're dogfighting, or when Poe and Finn escape the finalizer, it looks a bit animated. But honestly, I never really minded that kind of thing. Even in the prequel trilogy, I didn't mind all the CGI. I'm there for the story and the action, and I can suspend any belief as far as the visuals go to have a good time viewing, but hey, that's just me. The first line of the movie, though, kind of bugged me. This will begin to make things right. What are you getting at, JJ? Are you dissing something previous? I mean, in the story, I guess it makes some sense, like this piece of a map will begin to make things right because we can find Luke and he'll totally be on board to help fight the First Order even though he's just one guy, and that'll begin to make things right? Totally. First of all, Finn. I really like the concept of his character, his backstory. This bad guy turned good, especially what we've seen up until this point as a bunch of faceless troopers. Well, as far as the movies go anyway, since the Clone Wars had the clones and their individual personalities and whatnot, which I like the idea of, but the way they go about it is pretty lame to me. They introduce the idea that faceless, nameless bad guys can turn good too, that they are people with their own personal struggles, that they have morals and a conscience, sort of lifting the mask, so to speak. But they forget about that pretty quickly as they go right back to shooting away baddies like there's some points in a game or something. Even Finn is all as he shoots away his friends, his comrades, the only family he's ever known. These are people he knew personally, who he knows better than anyone has a chance of turning good. Not only that, but the way he turns good is just a bit rushed. He switches on a dime. From the very get-go, he's already questioning his ways with no development whatsoever. It's the right thing to do, he says, despite never having had a conversation with a good guy or anything that said that earlier. Just Bam! Bad guy being horrified by his faction's actions. Hey, that rhymed. And turning good right away. Another shame, to add insult to injury, he's a stereotypical character. Like seemingly every black guy Hollywood depicts, he's the comic relief, the hyper guy, always on edge and shouting, exaggerating things, etc. What is it with Hollywood and black characters always having to speak in some Americanish, I guess, sort of urban way? I mean, they could have just used the actor's real-life natural accent. It's a cool accent. I mean, come on. And he is a part of the First Order, so it would only make sense. Oh, but I hear you say, the original trilogy had stormtroopers talking in American accents. Doesn't mean they have to do it here. Not everyone is from the same dang planet. Chances are, not all of them would have the same accents. The clone troopers didn't even have an American accent, by the way, and they're, troopers. But as far as the stormtroopers go, they were kidnapped by the First Order at a very young, impressionable age, being raised and trained in their ways. So it only makes sense that they too would have an English accent. By the way, I say these nationalities for lack of a better word. I mean, obviously these guys aren't Earthlings, so you know what I mean. They went with an American accent due to the pacing and the comical tone, they said. But one, why does he need to be comical at all? This dude has a tragic story. He shouldn't be the comic relief. I mean, you could have done that with Poe, if anyone, but do we really need another comical person like Jar Jar or C-3PO of this trilogy? Which, C-3PO is already in this trilogy, so... 2, he kind of pronounces words weird. Like, what? Can someone tell me what planet he's from that they would talk in that sort of, like, American accent, but not quite American, if that makes any sense? Like, for example, Jakku.
Jakku?
No, Finn, it's Jakku.
Jakku?
Jakku.
Jakku?
No, it's Jack.
Jakku.
Just Jakku.
Jakku?
You know what? Just never mind. Just don't worry about it. Anyway, you also have Rey, who is granted not perfect at everything, but she is a little too good. There's really no development for her. I mean, she's kind of got the same basic attitude and, fighting skills the whole movie. Everything just kind of happens with her, Like, she doesn't really know growth there. She's just, yeah. I mean, sure, the fighting skill part can be explained away by her being a scavenger all her life and growing in a rough part of town, so to say. But it just makes her parts in the movie all the more boring, really. At least to me. Similar to Anakin in Episode 1. Is she a chosen one too? Getting those vibes with her. It doesn't help that all the characters seem to know who she is, but never say it, as if it's this big mystery that's to be revealed in the next movie. Please tell me we're not going to get another I am your family member moment. That aside, there is no real attributes to her character, aside from her not wanting to leave Jakku, because her family might come back at any day now. These new friends that she made are her family now, and she has to live her own life. Now she has a cause to fight for the greater good of the galaxy. But aside from that, there is really not that much going on for her, character-wise. She's just the same throughout the movie, already having good sound morals, being a good fighter, and way too perfect of a pilot. Well, I mean, a little clunky here and there, but... Still, she's a really dang good pilot. I mean, she knows the Millennium Falcon better than Han Solo. What? Granted, her fight with Kylo later was pretty much defensive, and she was losing up until the point she remembers to trust in the Force, and only then does the tide turn in her favor, much like Luke in the Battle of Yavin. And heck, Kylo Ren was injured by a freaking bowcaster, for crying out loud. By the way, how does he just sit there still as a statue when he's shot with the bowcaster, while everyone else flings like a friggin' Sonic Frisbee? Anyway, Kylo was not only facing her, but Finn as well. and he just murdered his father. So I imagine that's probably going through his mind. So that's pretty impressive on his part. I don't see him as weak. I mean, there was a lot going on. There's a lot of factors to consider here. So I will give Rey's character that much, that there was an attribute there, and she did struggle a little for as little as she did. But hey, it's something. Though escaping Kylo's clutches all on her own, using Jedi mind tricks she likely didn't even know existed, that was a bit much. The other new guy, Poe Dameron, he was alright, though he was too good of a pilot. I mean, geez. Now this is pod racing. The part where he is, I guess, flung elsewhere when he and Finn crash on Jakku, as explained later in the movie. What? He's nowhere to be found at the crash, and we assume he's dead for the time being until later. Apparently he survived. He was flung elsewhere, and now he's back without a scratch, just fighting again. And yeah, there's not a whole lot of sound explanation for it aside from that. At least in the realm of believability. Now that is called bad writing, I'm just being honest. Kylo Ren. I don't quite get the hate toward him. I mean, he's a developing character. He's conflicted. And yes, he's quite whiny, but he is related to Anakin and Luke. He's got some of that Skywalker blood in him, so it's to be expected. What I like is that he isn't another Vader. Meaning he isn't already matured and developed and an all-out boss to face later on. No, he's basically a main character in his own right. He's the other side of the coin from Rey. Personally, I'm excited to see where they take his character. He was one of the highlights of the movie for me. The idea of Han and Leia's son being a villain is pulled straight from Legends, which I personally appreciate. As much as they ignore the old EU, correct me if I'm wrong, I never really read it that much, they do have some things from it, so there's that at least. Now, what is up with his force powers? Apparently in Star Wars you can stop blaster fire in midair, you can freeze people in place and knock them out. I'm sure that would have come in handy earlier in the saga, don't you think? And the son of the leader of the Resistance happens to be on the opposing side. A bit coincidental, huh? Speaking of which, this movie is just full of coincidences. Finn just happens to stumble across Rey. Rey happens to stumble across BB-8. They happen to find the Millennium Falcon, and Han happens to find them, and Finn happens to know about the weakness in the Starkiller and all that jazz. I'll get to that later. But it's a bit unbelievable. Snoke. I like the mystery behind this character. His ominous presence, this lurking background threat that we have yet to truly meet. But that voice, though. So many questions. Who is this guy? What is he? Why is he leading the First Order? Where did he come from? I just hope he doesn't end up being this random evil Force user, some new character, another villain that they have to deal with by the end, blah blah blah. I want him to be of some great significance. Perhaps he is someone we know already and is getting revenge and is rising up or something. I don't know how that would be that significant, but, you know. Or something bigger, like perhaps he is the dark side itself personified, and defeating him would finally bring true balance to the Force and end all this madness. It would finish what Anakin started. Something that when he and the First Order are defeated, then it would be a nice finish to the saga. It would bring all three trilogies together in this grand way. Captain Phasma sucks in this movie. They made her out to be this fierce warrior in the marketing and all that stuff, only for her to be a wimp and have nothing to do in the movie. And she's a total coward. The ease at which she succumbs to the good guy's demands is just pathetic. What kind of villain is this? All they had to do was threaten her life, and she's willing to compromise her entire faction. Just a weak villain. And Han suggests to throw her in the trash compactor. That's a little dark for his character, don't you think? He's supposed to be the good guy, right? What gives? General Hux is, well, alright, I guess. He does have some cringy dialogue at times, though, like when he's talking to Snoke and is all, "We should destroy the government that supports the resistance." There's a pause there, as if we don't know what he's talking about. Oh, whatever could it be? What government could he be talking about? The Republic. No! That whole situation with the First Order, Resistance, and Republic is a bit confusing, by the way, but I'll get to that later. His speech was pretty epic, though, I gotta admit. I couldn't help but listen to it and apply it to my imagination in some way. It's awesome. It definitely has a Nazi vibe to it. It really gives you the sense that these guys are a small, extremist group rallying together, hell-bent on destroying the Republic, and all that is good. We get to see their craziness at play here. They come across as a cult, almost. You can tell by the way the troops respond that they're pretty much brainwashed and willing to die for a cause that is pure evil, even though they might not know it. Now that the Republic capital has been Alderaan all up in here, the good guys have definitely been brought down to the First Order's level, and now it's more of an even fight. And that is pretty terrifying for our heroes. Since before it was the galactic government, the Republic, with this big military, way smaller than any that came before it, but still the biggest in its era, so I've read. And Leia leading a resistance. But now a good chunk of the Republic's fleet is gone, and they'll probably have to band with the Resistance if they have any hope of fighting the First Order. So I hope is the case anyway. They make it seem like the Republic as a whole is destroyed, the way Hux talks. Like, destroy the Republic, and this will be the last day of the Republic, and, you know, it seems like the Republic is gone now. And if that's the case, that is so dumb! The rebels, turns out, did restore the Republic. But now, it's as if it was all for nothing, as now it seemingly gets destroyed, and now we're stuck with another ragtag group of rebels. Really? Speaking of which, the Resistance. Oh yeah, sounds so different than the rebels, Looks just like the Rebel Alliance. X-Wings, pilot outfits, a hidden base on a forest planet, the whole 9 yards. Heck, even their emblem is the exact same thing as the Rebel Firebird. They aren't even trying here. This is just Rebellion 2.0. Even the situation they find themselves in, from trying to get info out of a droid before their enemy does, to having to destroy this planet-killing ball in space seconds before it destroys their base. It's the same thing! Those aspects were basically Episode 4 all over again. It's like, if I want to see Episode 4 again, I'll watch Episode 4 again. Show me the sequel. Come on. Show me Episode 7. I mean, holy crap, I know you have to do the whole rhyme thing, but can't you at least be a little more subtle about it? I mean, yes, Episode 1 did repeat some things, but it wasn't so blatant about it. There's even a dang trench run. Come on, Lucasfilm! Show some originality here. The bad guys, while more original, isn't excused either. The First Order, which, what the heck does that name even mean? Like, what? I mean, they never explain that in the movie. I know with, like, Ray Sloan was like, this is the First Order of business, blah, 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 but, you know, throw it in the movie somewhere. I mean, we're just like, what the heck does First Order mean? These guys aren't the First Order to come around. I mean, the Empire was an order, the Republic was an... what? But anyway, the First Order is also a missed opportunity. I mean, first learning about them, they seemed like this organized terrorist group. Essentially an evil rebellion. A group of fleeing Imperials years before, hell-bent on revenge, yada yada. None of which is explained in the movie, by the way. Much like the real-life theory of if the Nazis fled elsewhere and rebuilt in secret for years and became a threat later on, which I guess is more or less exactly what we got. To me, they initially seemed like the secret society, this extremist group. And I definitely got that feel during Hux's speech, which is pretty awesome, by the way. The imagery there, it definitely looks like they're small, hidden, and band together. But the more time goes on, I'm starting to see them more as Empire 2.0. I mean, they're still TIE fighters for some reason. Wish we could have got new starfighters, but oh well. Still calling their troopers stormtroopers. which that's more of a minor nitpick, really. I mean, I don't care that much. The stormtroopers do look awesome, by the way. I will give them that. And the TIE fighters, well, as crap as it is to have more TIE fighters, they do look pretty awesome. Glass half full. Another Death Star, which I'll address that in a bit. Another scarred Darksider leading it, etc. And from the looks of The Last Jedi, more walkers. Probably going to be a weakness that needs to be exploited by those dang ski speeders or whatever. Even another Darksider in a mask. That's the, like, enforcer guy. Well, the last part, again, I don't really mind Kylo Ren. I mean, he is an awesome villain. I just thought I'd mention the parallel. I personally like Kylo Ren, as I said before, though the son of the Resistance leader being a part of the First Order is kind of a bit too coincidental. What I think would have made a more compelling setting is the New Republic versus the Resistance. The Resistance being what we ultimately got as the First Order. Instead of being a closed-off organization led by another Darksider, which doesn't make sense here. I mean, what the heck does Snoke have to do with the First Order? Like, what? These guys that were made by fleeing Imperials? Hellbent on getting back at the Republic? What do they have to do with another Darkseid leader or something? I don't know, that's weird. But anyway, the Resistance, in my setting, wouldn't have been this, like, sort of closed-off organization. Or, I mean, I guess to an extent they would be, but it would be more of a movement, actively recruiting members who are loyalists to the old Imperial ways and want to take down this Republic. Led by Hux, they would make speeches, protest, terrorist attacks, etc. Which I suppose we kind of got, but if all that was in the movie, you know, and there was more political stuff, it would feel more like a reverse rebellion of sorts. They could be more vocal and stuff since, you know, the Republic is more of a democratic, friendly government. Of course, my idea of a resistance would still have a secret military and be doing shady things like the First Order. I mean, come on, you have to have that. That's pretty awesome. But yeah, all that would be the political side of things. Meanwhile, on the Force side of things, completely separate, would be Snoke leading the Knights of Ren, Kylo Ren, you know, fighting the New Jedi Order, or whatever they got planned going on there. And Snoke, I mean, I don't know what he is in canon. He could very well be this, but my idea for Snoke would be he would be the significant character, like a dark side entity, the dark side itself or something from the unknown regions. But yeah, him leading the First Order just doesn't make any sense to me. The New Jedi Order is kinda dumb, turns out. In the EU, they were legit, but here, we never get to see them in action. We're just told they were all slaughtered. This again? So now we're back to square one, with Luke being the last Jedi again. And then he probably has to train Rey, and then, you know, she becomes the last Jedi or something. Why does there always have to be 1 to 2 Jedi? I mean, come on. And about Luke. He just kinda left? When the galaxy needed him most, he vanished. Some time has passed and my new best friend and I have discovered a new Jedi to be. A Force user named Rey. And although her Force powers are great, she has a lot to learn before she's ready to save anyone. Get the reference? Okay, moving on. Seems out of Luke's character to just abandon the galaxy like that out of self-pity. I mean, this is the same guy that disobeyed orders from his Jedi Masters just to save his friends on Bespin, despite all the red flags saying not to. The same dude who put his own life and morals on the line for a slight chance at turning his father to the good side, or the light side, whatever. This guy is pretty dang stubborn when it comes to saving people. So for him to just throw his hands in the air and be like, I quit, no, I'm done, I tried and I failed, I'm out of here, peace. That wasn't supposed to be a quote, by the way, that was supposed to be peace signs. Though to be fair, he was pretty whiny and gave up rather easily when he was younger, but, I mean, this is 30 years later, he's a Jedi Master now. You'd think he would have learned his lessons by now about giving up so easily. And he gets no dialogue, no reunion with Han and Leia and Chewie, nothing, just like, what the heck? That's kind of a minor nitpick, really. I mean, I don't really mind that there wasn't any reunion, to be honest, but just thought I'd leave it in there for those of you who did have that complaint. Still, it would have been nice to have him reunite with Han and them have some dialogue. And why the frick would he leave a map that shows the way to him? Like, what the heck? What are you doing? This ain't no game. The galaxy is at risk here, man. Why are you making this jigsaw puzzle, this treasure map to find you? What are you doing? You're the worst hide-and-seek player ever, by the way. But and then they find one little piece of the map that isn't even that significant. Like, what is it with people in Star Wars and being totally lost unless something is in the databanks? Like, there will be a little shade part here, for example, on this whole galactic map, and that's obviously where they need to go because it's the only shaded area and it's nowhere else to be found. But they'll be like, oh man, where is it? And then they uncover the shade. There it is! You know, I mean, my goodness. It's like, what a bunch of dumb nuts this galaxy has. Or maybe I just don't know star charts and all that stuff. And maybe there's some more sound explanation. But yeah, anyway, it just seems like everything accomplished in the original trilogy was all for nothing. I mean, the Republic is likely gone, and we're just stuck with more Empire versus Rebels. I hope not. Luke is back to being the last of the Jedi and having to, you know, restore the Jedi Order. Han and Chewie are back to doing illegal things. Don't tell Leia or the Republic. Leia's back to leading another resistance movement, and yada yada. Starkiller Base. Let me just get this out of the way. Rehash! I know, I'm sure a lot of you are tired of hearing this, but it's gotta be said. This is my review, okay? This is how I feel. I mean, seriously, it's Death Star 3. Can we please just call it Death Star 3 and be honest with ourselves? Not really, I'm trying to be in denial here. Take out the Starkiller, and this movie is alright. The first half of the movie was okay. Every time I see Starkiller on screen, as cool as it looks, and it is to watch it fire, I mean, that's pretty awesome. I cringe. Especially during the attack on it by the Resistance. That whole sequence, Battle of Yavin 2.0, Battle of Dequar, I guess. I don't know, the whole thing was just so painfully predictable. It hurt to watch. I cringe so much every time I see that. Especially when the trench run thing comes up and they have to... Oh my gosh. And just one movie before this, we had another Death Star already anyway, with that whole scenario, and it's like, oh, it's gonna blow up, you know. I mean, how many times are we gonna get this dang scenario where the good guys have to take out this ball in space, and it's become numb at this point. I mean, when I first saw it on the movie poster, I knew that thing was gonna blow up. I was just gonna be like, here we go again. That thing's gonna blow up by the end of the movie, and what do you know what happened? Even the characters in the movie are tired of it. It's another Death Star. I wish that were the case. No, it is. That guy's right. And even Han is like, again, really? The way he speaks about it, it's just so, it's big. Now how do we blow it up? There's always a way to do that. It's like unbelievable. If it's such a tiring thing and been done too much already, where even the characters are tired of it, why put it in the movie? And I think I know why. Rhyming. Ugh. Why, George? You could rhyme, that's fine. I don't mind the rhyming. Make another ball in space that you have to destroy. I mean, I get it. I don't mind that. But does it have to be another planet killer? Another Death Star? Can't you at least make it a little more subtle? That's all I'm saying. The way they go about it, again, is just so painful to watch. Just everything about it. Oh, we gotta lower the shields from the inside, and blah, blah, blah. Gotta find a weakness. And the way they find a weakness, too, is not even clever. Finn is just like, oh, I used to be a janitor there. The thermal oscillator thing, it's right there. There's another weakness. And I'm like, okay, let's go blow it up. Like, my gosh. And the inside of it looks just like the Death Star, almost. And Dequar, whatever, is just another Yavin 4. They look just like those. Is there no creativity left at Lucasfilm? And how the heck does it even work? There's no logic here. I mean, I know this is set in a universe where magical powers exist, and there's hyperdrives, laser swords, and all that crud, but, I mean, at least make it believable in that universe, even. At least explain things a little bit. I mean, they felt the need to explain that it sucks in a sun, and some thermal oscillator contains it, and stuff like that. Why not go a little bit further and explain it so it makes some dang sense? I mean, the Death Star, yeah, I get it. Probably has some ports on it, even though I don't know where it is. You know, it has a thermal exhaust. It probably moves. I don't really know how. It uses kyber crystals, okay. You know, that's believable, but we're talking about taking an entire planet, converting it into a weapon, sucking in a star. Like, what? By the way, as far as sucking in a star goes, and using that as a sort of weapon, I had the same idea for a story I was gonna make, and now I can't do it. I looked in the theater, I'm like, these guys took my idea. I mean, how does it not melt all the snow around and burn the planet up and burn anyone? I mean, what? I mean, I don't know. I can sort of get behind the idea that it sucks in a star, I guess. But isn't it kind of pointless to suck in the star of your solar system? Because then what? You just freeze over and drift off into space, and now there's nothing to fire with. I mean, maybe it drifts off until it comes into a contact with another solar system, and maybe they have that all planned out so they don't run into anything, and then they start orbiting that star and use that as their weapon. I don't know. And didn't they already have to suck in a star before when they fired on the Hosnian system? I guess their system also has twin suns like Tatooine's does. I noticed how it was daylight when they first fired. I mean, is there twin suns? Or does the sun just kind of, like, recharge after a while, you know? Maybe it's like an unlimited supply source where it dims and then it grows back again? Because if so, that would be pretty convenient and clever on their part. If that makes any sense, recharges after a while. So sources say, I don't know how reliable it is, take it with a grain of salt, Wikipedia and all that, but that it's a mobile base. Perhaps when it's done with their sun, I like rhyming, then it can orbit another star like I said, and fire that. But Wikipedia says that Starkiller has rocket ports or something to make it mobile. But how the heck do you take an entire planet out of its orbit like that? And wouldn't everyone freeze to death? I don't care how many heaters you have. You're freaking Pluto. Hashtag stand with Pluto. Hashtag still a planet. The cannon has to be the size of a freaking continent, by the way. Like, that thing's huge. Takes up a big portion of the planet. Like, dang, how do you build that? And are you telling me the entire planet is a base? Like, that's a lot of freaking people. Imagine Earth's population working for some small military faction. Of course, it could just be that the planet didn't have any intelligent life on it, and then they came along, so there's just like a few people spread out, maybe? I don't know. But is there a base just located on one part of the planet while they have the whole thing shielded and they have a cannon and stuff? Or is it the whole thing is a base? Like, how does that work? But I don't know, okay? The whole thing is just confusing. I mean, I'm starting to get a headache right now. I think I was on the brink of one earlier, and I don't know why, but, you know, this... My gosh. But needless to say, Starkiller Base just wasn't needed. It was cool the first time. You know, the Death Star, I mean. And kind of lame the second time in Return of the Jedi. I mean, don't get me wrong, that movie is my favorite movie, simply for the emotion in it, but I didn't really like the fact that we're getting another Death Star. In Episode 1, with the Trade Federation control ship, it's kind of like, okay. I mean, a little too similar, but it's whatever, it's fine, I guess. The Clone Wars with the Malevolence. Fourth time, they're just beating it with a dead horse. And now it's just becoming brutal. So predictable. It's like a meme at this point. I mean, really. Again, I knew as soon as I saw it on the poster, here we go again. I mean, if anything, at least let it stick around in the trilogy. Although, I guess that would mean more movies with Death Stars. My gosh. But at least then it would be more of a threat. And it wouldn't feel so a one-off rehash thing. Like, when it's finally destroyed, then it would be like, a huge victory for the good guys. This thing that was just crushing them, it was finally done with. And by the way, the way it fired, I thought at first it was going to destroy the sun, much like the Sun Crusher in the Legends EU, but it just spread apart and destroyed each planet individually. How does that work? Just, like, the laser fires as one, but then it just becomes a bunch? Like, what? And if you think about it, it's kind of like a reverse Death Star, where it was a bunch that came into one laser, and now it's one laser coming into a bunch. Interesting. I mean, I was looking forward to seeing a pocket nova come out of the sun, and then just as a result, all the planets around it just kind of get destroyed in one way or another. And I was wondering what that was going to look like, but now it's just lasers into planets again. Interesting, I guess. But yeah, it would have been interesting to see. It would have been like a milestone to have it destroyed in like the second or third movie of the trilogy, where it's finally this victory for the good guys, a milestone, a cheerful, crucial moment that was hard for the good guys to finally overcome. But what we ultimately got was a here we go again sort of thing, and here comes like what, 12 fighters to defeat an entire militarized base? Okay then. And just in the way they destroy the Republic, if you're gonna get rid of the Republic, which I think really sucks, at the very least, give them some development. I mean, dang. Show us the planet. Show us what the Republic is like before it gets destroyed. That way it's more emotional when it does get destroyed. I mean, as it's getting destroyed, that was the first time we ever saw them. It's like, why do we care? They're playing sad music as if we should care, but we just don't. It's like, okay, bye. And Hux is all like, to their cherished fleet, I would have liked to see that cherished fleet in action. That would have been cool. No development, just bye-bye fleet we never saw to begin with. Darn. Now we're stuck with more rebels. And C-3PO is like, without the Republic fleet, we're doomed. Why couldn't you just have the Republic fleet in the movie? Think how awesome it would have been. The attack on Starkiller Base. Just the whole Republic fleet and Resistance arrives to destroy it. There's this big battle ensues, kind of like the battle over Coruscant. You have fighters going in as Republic Star Destroyers come in. Maybe I'll leave a few pictures below in the description below that what those could have looked like. And just troop transports going down. This huge battle ensues. Like Republic Star Destroyers versus First Order Star Destroyers. Just madness. Like Battle of Jakku all over again, visually, over a snow planet. And the fighters are going at it and everywhere. There's a big distraction. And then they finally take it out. Or it could have been a moment kind of like at the Battle of Geonosis when the Republic finally arrived to help the Jedi out, with all those clone troopers and gunships and all that. It could have been like that maybe, where the Republic comes at last as backup and then blah, 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 or something like that, It just so much missed opportunity, but instead of any of that, we just got Episode 4 all over again. Good guys are the underdogs. They have to take out this and now on to a more cheerful part. Now, seeing the glass more half full. The way I like to see things. Call it denial, but I like to see the Resistance as a New Republic military operation. Obviously, canon says it's a private military under Leia, but it does have the Republic's support. By the way, the canon EU says the Republic sees Leia as a warmonger, and it's not listening to her warnings about the First Order, so she creates her own private army, which is the Resistance, but then in the movie it says that they do support her? Well, which is it? A few concerned senators channeling credits into her bank account isn't the Republic. You know what I mean? And let me get this straight. Leia made the Resistance so to be like to the First Order, if you want the Republic, you're going to have to go through us, She's fighting for the Republic because they won't fight for themselves, But then the First Order's like, man, if we want the Resistance, we're gonna have to go through the New Republic, and then they just blow up the Republic, want to take out the Resistance. I'm like, what the frick just happened? She's like a doorway blocking the Republic, like, no, you can't have them. But the First Order sees it the other way. Where the Republic is the doorway blocking the Resistance. Of course, they needed to get to Luke Skywalker. By the way, Luke is indirectly and maybe unintentionally as it is responsible for like millions of deaths. Or it's because of him that so many have died. It's just tragic, man. Yeah, it's a race to get to Skywalker before the Resistance does, so they take out the Republic or whatever. But even though the Resistance is operating in First Order territory, and they're kind of a ways away anyway, so it's, yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's weird. It's really weird. But anyway, back to the way I like to see it. So, the Resistance, they're basically a bunch of Republic volunteers fighting the First Order. This unofficial New Republic sort of Black Ops operation. And they band together to spy on the First Order, whom are a somewhat small extremist organization and not another empire. Snoke is basically this, since him leading First Order doesn't make much sense to me, the way my canon here, until it's explained otherwise, is Snoke is basically this Darksider. He dwelled in the unknown regions and made a bargain with the First Order. Like, I'll make a deal with you guys. I'm good at this sort of thing. I have lots of resources too. You let me lead you, we will bring the Republic down to its knees. And in return, I want help in finding Luke Skywalker and destroying him and all ties with the Jedi. Deal? And he has Kylo Ren as his apprentice, and they sort of come in and mingle with the First Order, and they become this sort of group effort, much like the Sith working with the Trade Federation in Episode 1, where they called him my lord, but that's more of a... that's not because he was leading them, or maybe he was, but it's sort of like they made a bargain, and then he will kind of steer them in the right direction, but he didn't start out leading them, if that makes any sense. When the Hosnian system gets destroyed, the Republic isn't wiped out, but simply crippled. Now, my hope is to see the Republic and Resistance band together to fight the First Order. I just want to see some Republic action. Please, The Last Jedi, give me that. Or maybe Episode 9, you're my only hope at that point. Show me some Republic action. But anyway, if all else fails, I like to see the Resistance as New Republic volunteers, like this Black Ops operation. At least that's my way of looking at this new era, making it bearable. Oh yeah, something I forgot to add initially when making this review is that there's a lot of Marvel-style quipping in this movie. A lot of moments that make you feel like you're watching the MCU or something. I mean, I expected that going in because Disney, that seems to be their thing, but I don't know, maybe it's just me. I mean, I know the other 6 movies had lots of humor in them. Was it really the whole slapstick humor, theater laughing every 10 seconds type of thing? I've come to terms with it. Like, it's not that big of a deal, I'm overthinking it, and even in the Star Wars galaxy, everyone's an individual and you get different tones, different, that's what I'm looking for, conversations, moments when they come together because they're different people. And the argument people will use in defense of the whole rehashiness is that they had to bring people back on board after the crappy prequels. But for one thing, why? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, are you telling me that if they made an original new movie that was done the right way, people wouldn't have liked it? Like, you would have been there like, oh, this is crap. I wanted an apology letter for the prequels. I wanted to see the same crap all over again. Gosh dang it, screw this movie. I mean, you know what I mean? And people were going to come back anyway. I mean, it's Star Wars. It's like a staple in the world's culture. People are going to see this movie no matter what. If it has this title Star Wars on it, and everyone knows that it's the next chapter of the saga, you better believe people are going to be lining up for it no matter what the content is. And I believe people would have liked it regardless. If it was a new and original movie that didn't rehash, I think people would have still liked it. So that whole argument doesn't make any sense to me. And besides, I mean, to me personally, the prequels weren't that bad. I mean, come on. And another argument people will use is it was to introduce Star Wars to a new generation. Do people not have the original trilogy on DVD and or VHS if you're a theatrical person? This is episode 7! You're gonna have to see the original movies anyway in order to understand who these people are and what the heck is going on, right? Most people marathon all the movies leading up to this anyway, and not to mention the next year after this movie, Rogue One came out, which ties into episode 4, so people are going to watch that anyway, so why do you need a rehash? Besides, if this was going to be the first movie people are going to watch, why does it have to redo the 4th one? Just make something new. I mean, it's still Star Wars. You're still introducing Star Wars to a new generation. You don't need another Death Star, more TIE Fighters and X-Wings, etc. to do that, do you? I mean, come on. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on that. That's just my counter-argument to those counter-arguments to my argument. All in all, it's an okay, sort of entertaining movie. Visually amazing, but plot and such is pretty lame. The first half is alright for what it is, but the latter half is just horrendous. I think I rate this movie a 5 out of 10 lightsabers. Basically average. I know it's heresy to say, but I really don't care for this movie. Seems to me, and please don't get offended by this, but it seems like a lot of people loved this movie because they're hyped on nostalgia. Seeing the original cast again, the Millennium Falcon being chased by TIE Fighters, which was pretty mad to me. I mean, more TIE Fighters, really? I mean, show us something else. But for me personally, I really don't like nostalgia, at least when it's used as an excuse to be lazy in storytelling. Nostalgia should come natural, not be forced. I don't know about you, but I get my nostalgia by taking part in the original thing itself, if that makes sense. Like, if I'm gonna get nostalgia from watching the Millennium Falcon being chased by TIE Fighters, in this case, I'm gonna watch the original trilogy itself. Then, all those memories come back and, you know, giddy, and I enjoy it. For me, a movie is tied with when I see it. So this movie brings on memories from 2015, if anything, you know. Nostalgia does not make a movie any better at all, in my opinion. Notice how a lot of movies these days rely on their predecessors a little too much. I guess that just happens in Hollywood. When you wait 20 plus years to make a sequel, you feel the need to reel in the fans and remake the first one to an extent. And it's a shame too, because movies could be so much better than this. And I know a lot of people don't like rehashing, and rightfully so. But for some reason, when Star Wars does it, it's okay. I mean, I know there are a lot of people who are on board with me here and say it's rehashed to the point where it almost gets tired of hearing. I understand that. Kind of like the prequel hate gets tired of hearing. Anyway. But there are arguably more who do like the movie. Either they are blinded by nostalgia, like it because, well, it's great for what it is, and I don't care, you know, it's better than what we got before, blah, 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 and they feel like anything Disney throws their way is good. Ever notice that? Disney can never do any wrong? I don't know. Even if it's a company that people know is under Disney, it somehow makes the experience all the better for them. I mean, I don't know if any of that's true. That's just my theory. Sort of an observation. Do it with it what you will. Kind of scares me a little. Seems like Disney has almost brainwashed the population. I know, conspiracy territory. And in a way, like not brainwashed, but in a lot of people's minds, and it's like near and dear to all their hearts, and they grew up with it, and so that's, you know, how dare you bash Disney, you know, Disney, and I don't know. I'm just creeped out by them a little bit, and don't like some of the decisions they make in regards to Star Wars and stuff like that. But since Disney practically has a monopoly on most of the female population, not all, but most, kind of has them in their grasps, I'm probably going to have to deal with them at some point if I ever have any hopes of getting married. I've come to terms with that. It's fine. You know, like, we don't have, me and my future wife, we won't have to like the same things, and that's okay, you know. I mean, you can like it all you want. I just personally don't really like it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't hate Disney. They do have a lot of good movies, and I'm willing to sit and watch them, you know, and quote them or whatever, have fun, but it's just I don't really like them that much as a company, and some of the decisions they make, mostly as far as Star Wars is concerned, and some of their shady history, and I don't know, it just seems like they have to buy the world, you know, like they're just, now there's talks of them buying Fox. It's like, this again? Like, are they just gonna own everything? It's just weird. Like, it's creepy. You know, don't come for me. I mean, dang. I mean, if you like Disney, good for you, and even I do to some extent, but I don't know, they scare me. I don't know, it's not, yeah, whatever, that doesn't really, not really relevant here in this review. But anyway, that is my in-depth review. Holy crap, this was long. Well, kudos to you if you made it through to the end. Thank you for letting me waste like 15 plus minutes of your time. You're welcome. And also, there's a lot of Marvel style quipping in this movie. Kind of like, it feels like it belongs in the MCU, if that makes any sense. Maybe it's just me. I felt that way going in, that it was going to be like that because Disney owns Lucasfilm now. Seems like they all have the same humor almost. I don't know.